Why we need more non-profit world? I have not to say to you why, because you know better than me. But I'm trying to give you some idea specifically for the economic crisis that Italian and Spanish are living more or less the same way. That's my idea. Let's think that we are taking an airplane. I came in Barcelona with an airplane, and you can take the airplane in two ways. You can have more controls, more guarantees, but of course more cost. The advantage are that if you go with more controls, you are traveling with much more trust. The disadvantage is that the tickets will be much more expensive, the airports will be much more chaotic, and probably you have to arrive a couple of minutes, maybe an hour before. But you are traveling with much more tranquilidad. Second possibility, less controls, less guarantees, less costs. You can see the advantage. Probably the tickets will be less expensive. You can arrive at the last minute, as I did yesterday. But you are traveling with much more anxiety, with suspect. You are, maybe something could happen. You didn't control everything, so you're not okay. So this is the same situation. This is the right and the left. This is the right administration and the left administration. I'm not speaking about politics. I'm speaking about the situation. Think about the two kinds of government. If you put the administration of left, probably you have much more guarantee and less freedom. And this is the cost, the total cost that you have. On the other side, probably with the administration of the right side of the parliament, you could have much more freedom but less guarantee. Do not think about your actual government. Think about the ideology about right and left. Think about Hobbes. Think about Hayek. Think about some people that are speaking about right and left. But if you look at the curve of the costs, more or less are the same. Of course, you have much more work, freedom here. You are supposed to pay less taxes here and more taxes here. But here you have less secure job, and here you have much more secure job. I don't know. This is the ideology under these two ideas. And the more you go on, the more the costs go on. So there is only one way to make that lines, that curve goes down. If you trust each other more. If I can trust the people that travel with me in the airplane, if I can trust the people who take the airplane with me, probably the cost of the control, the cost of the ticket, the cost of the anxiety, the cost of my freedom goes down. So this is the nonprofit task, to create trust. That's why we need more. Not just because we are good, not just because the nonprofit is a good thing, but because in this crisis, in this economic crisis where the costs are going up and we do not have any more money, we have to create much more trust. What I'm saying that we prefer to live in this kind of society Probably you remember this movie. This is a beautiful movie in which a German captain of the secret services used to spy all the people to check if everything was good. Or we prefer to live in this kind of society in which, at least in Italy, the volunteers are driving. People not paid are driving the ambulance. People not paid are driving the fire. This is the Sacramento in California fire department. Is entirely run by volunteers, by the nonprofit sector. Or maybe this one. You see, you need to create much more confiance, much more trust. And the nonprofit world is probably the best solution to create trust. But we didn't, until now, we did a very good job. Think about these statistics. If we think in 1997, the AIDS deaths were more or less 1 million. In 2007, it's 2 million. Even if we have much more effort to cure this terrible sickness, this is the data. So the nonprofit world is not working so good until now. Think about this one. In 1997, we had 11,420 deaths for breast cancer. In 2007, more or less the same data. This is not a good result for nonprofit world. For the public world, of course, not only the nonprofit, but we are collecting money for that cause, and we are not reaching such a good level. Think about this data. United Nations affirmed that we have more or less the same amount of people that is suffering global malnutrition 10 years later. So what we prefer, to live in this kind of world, or in the world that I showed you before? Probably you prefer to live in a world in which this kind of situation will be not anymore. Up to you. And I think that the reason is why we cannot reach a good level in our society is because we do not have freedom of fundraising. I think we are running two different rules. One for the profit world, the other one for the non-profit world. We are running two different rules because in the profit world we accept everything. We do not accept anything in a non-profit world. And I'll try to show you 6 reasons why we have to fight these two different rules book. If you have any question even now, tell me, because I want to be sure that you understand my English. So everything are following me or not? Yes, okay. Chris, there is a friend over there. Chris, everything is okay? Nick is okay? Eh? Oh, thank you. I did a TOEFL test. I was not so good. But anyway, I'll try to. So I have 6 rules, basically. 6 ideas that I want to show you. The first one is the staff salaries. I'm speaking about the difference between the profit world and the non-profit world. And I'm speaking about the idea that the profit works and grows because it's free to do that. On the opposite, the non-profit world is not free to do that. It's not free because there is some Puritan, some moralism that block the development of the nonprofit world. I'll show you this idea. This is the Italian situation. Think about this. The marketing director of a medium profit organization gained more or less €81,000. The fundraising director, more or less the same role, gained $36,000. In a small organization, this is the salary. How do you think a talent, how do you think somebody that is very good, that comes from the ISA, that comes from the ESERDE, think about the nonprofit world when he knows that he will lose every year €50,000? The answer now is you have much more psychic motivation to do that, because the job is beautiful, and to work in the nonprofit world gives you much more psychic motivation. But I'll tell you, $50,000 gives me a lot of psychic motivation, especially my wife will be very happy with €50,000 more every year. And I'll tell you another thing. That guy is giving €10,000 to the nonprofit world, getting a benefit, a fiscal benefit of €5,000, get a plaque in the university, and called the philanthropist. This guy, this poor guy, is working 100% for the wellness of the common good, for the wellness of the society, and is fighting for $1,000 more money every year with this guy that is in the board of the director. This guy is in the board of the director that is deciding the salary of this one. And this is 99% concentrated on his interests, and is called the philanthropist. This one is not a philanthropist, is not honored in an event, in a gala dinner. He has not any plaque. Actually, if you ask more money, you are even a bad person, because you are using the nonprofit world to make money. You have to be poor, very poor. Of course, I'm not saying that you have to reach the same situation, but think about, at least in Italy, people that comes out from Bocconi University, from the Lewis University, don't even think about the nonprofit. Do not even think about the nonprofit. And if you do not have talent people, probably the nonprofit world doesn't grow so much as it could. I translated this one. Los ejecutivos de empresas con fines lucrativos ganan en promedio un 70% más que sus homólogos de sin fines de lucro. I'm okay in Spanish? Se reduce a un 40% los gerentes y un 30% los empleados. I'll show you some other data. These are the 5 most biggest salary in Italy, in non-profit world. I have no other data for you, but maybe Nick and Chris can provide some information. This is Save the Children. This is Teleton. Probably you have the Teleton in Spain. This is the Italian Association for Cancer Research. This is Medici Senza Frontiere, Doctors Without Border. And COPI is a non-profit organization. Those are the 5 biggest salary in health sector in Italy. I took this one from the tax return of the people, so it's correct. This could be scandalous. Oh, come on. In the nonprofit sector, you are making so much money. Think about that Save the Children has 25 million euro in revenue. Teleton is running an organization with 44 million euro in revenue. IUC is running 61 million euro in revenue in Italy. So it's a huge organization. But it could be scandalous, because think about people, employers of that nonprofit organization could gain 1,000 euro every month, no more than that. Put it on the other side, close to the wealth sector, insurance. So those are the guys that try to eradicate the sickness. Those are the guys that try to assure the sickness. Those are happy if they are sick, because they make money on that. Look at the salary. The salary gives you Generali insurance, 9 million for the general manager. Italian insurance company, SAI, is 5-7 million for the general manager. Fondiaria Insurance is the CEO. Cattolica Assicurazioni is the CEO. Unipol Assicurazioni is the CEO. So basically the situation is this one. If you compare in this wealth sales sector, 27 million for the profit world, 400,000 more or less for the non-profit world. And this is the society that gives 66 times value to insure the sickness instead of giving money to those who are working to eradicate the problem. But believe, those are the devils. Those have to go to the hell. Yes. Those are the bad persons that are making money in the non-profit world. This is terrible. Because people, when I enter in class, I teach at the University of Bologna, I told you. I teach at the Master in Fundraising, and of course I teach also at the Corso di Laurea, the graduate level. And I enter in the first class every year, and I say to them in the first class, you know that you have to make a choice. Do good or make good money. You cannot do both. And this is terrible. Because, of course, many of the people that don't think that the psychic motivation are so good escape from the non-profit world. This is the leftist magazine of Italy. I didn't choose the most liberal or the right or the conservative. I choose a quotation from the most leftist newsletter. Not because I want to do politics, but I'll show you how people are realizing this problem. Even from the right, from the center, from the left side, they understood that the problem is that the non-profit world paga por el moralismo hipócrita que empaña cada gesto o acción que tiene como contrapartida una remuneración. El sector no lucrativo debe ser hecho por mendigos atendidos por otros mendigos que para hacer feliz aquella parte de Italia que se enoja cuando se habla de dinero. Donan su tiempo y sus esfuerzos estrictamente de forma gratuita. The non-profit world is not only the gratis, the free. Of course, there are a lot of volunteers, but it's not only that. We need professionals. We need people well paid. Second problem, marketing. This is what we spend in Italy. Television advertising. We spend 12 billion in television advertising, total, the non-profit world is spending 4 million. How can you think that people, there is a rule in marketing that before you create the product, then you create the market for the product. This is a basic rule of the marketing. But we are not creating the market for our product. Think about Apple. I am a fan of Apple, of course. You can see that. Everything is Apple here. I already ordered the iPhone 5. I'm crazy, I know that. My wife said to me, what is the difference between the iPhone 4 and the 5? I don't know. Why you buy? Because it's Apple. That's it. So I'm crazy about that. But anyway, think about if Apple could launch the iPhone just with the free advertising at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. They give you the free space, the pro bono space, we call it in Italy, just at 2 o'clock, or maybe in August, when nobody is looking at television, in the last page of the news magazine, in the sport section of the lowest series of football. You never go in the first page paying for that because it's not ethical. You are not creating the market. But there is even more. What? Think about this idea. Of those 4 million, ActionAid in Italy is more or less the top spender. More or less 2 million in television is spent in Italy by ActionAid. ActionAid is doing an excellent job in Italy, using media, advertising, magazine, television. Somebody is here in ActionAid? No. ActionAid is doing an excellent job in Italy. They are doing a lot of fundraising through media. They are spending 2 million. The top spender in Italy is, there is no the information. The top spender in Italy is Nintendo. Nintendo is spending 480 million euro every year in advertising. So we are accepting that Nintendo is spending 480 million euro to promote video games, to promote some of them a little bit violent, some of them not so good, some of them are good. It's a family play, maybe, but some of them are not so good, and nobody's saying anything about this expense. But if you try to go on the television with Save the Children, ActionAid, people are saying, why are you not putting the money in the project? Why are you spending the money for the advertising? I want that my money will go directly to the project. The overhead, the overhead, the costo generale. The overhead is terrible. How many of my money will go to the overhead? How much money will go to the project? This is the terrible question. The most terrible. We do not accept anymore that kind of question. I'll show you in a couple of minutes. Double standard. Again, banning risk. What does it mean to risk? I'm not speaking about the risk of cancer research, the risk of research. I'm speaking about managing risk. If you are doing something, you have to risk. Some of the movie of Sony will go okay. Some of the movie by the Paramount will go bad. I'm risking that some of my project will go okay and the other one will go bad. But this is the part of the managing situation. In non-profit world, you cannot risk. Believe me. If you are doing an event a gala dinner, and you are not making immediately a return of 50%, 70%, people will say to you, oh, come on, you are losing money. This is ridiculous. Amazon didn't give any return investment to the members of the Amazon for 6 years. No problem. You have to begin to think about that our fundraising plan, especially specifically in this crisis period, will be in 6 years, 10 years, not anymore in 12 months. You have to think that the break-even point will be reached very, very far from now. You have to educate our board that they have to think in a time horizon bigger than just 12 months. Time horizon. Fourth problem. I told you, we are not permitted, we are not allowed to think in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. But there is no profit company that is making money in the first year. We know that the prospect mail is not doing any money, but then we have the house mail that is making money. We know that stuff. But it's so difficult to explain that the entire nonprofit organization needs more time to go up and needs to build on the overhead instead of making less money on the overhead. Needs to do more structure instead of doing less structure. There is a kind of starvation cycle in which the organization needs to say to the donors, we have no overhead. So if they do not have overhead, they need to lower the salary. If they lower the salary, people goes out. If they goes out, the organization goes down. If they goes down, there is a starvation cycle. It's terrible. And we accept this kind of situation. We have to fight on that. Then finally, we cannot change this one, but this is important. No profit, no capital means that the nonprofit organization cannot go on the stock market. And the stock market is the most important way to finance the profit world. You cannot go on the stock market as a nonprofit organization. So we cannot change that, but at least we can think that since we cannot go there, we have to at least make more space, make more free for the other four. Any question on that? I don't know. Are you following me? It's so terrible. Okay? Now let's speak about overheads. Overhead project. What percentage of my donation goes directly to the cause and what goes towards overhead costs? Of course, we want the percentage for the cause to be very high and for overheads to be very low. And there is an equation. The equation is that low overhead, good organization. High overhead, bad organization. This is a terrible equation. This is a wrong equation. This is not true. Think about, I'm going to a shoes shops. I go inside, I don't want to see any shoes. Just give me the less overhead shoes. I don't want to see the shoes. Give me whatever you want, but I want those built with less overheads. Or maybe you enter in the shops and you say, how much you gain? What's your salary? 1,000, 800. I want shoes from them. This is what we do in the nonprofit world. Think about, not you, of course, but the donors. The donors don't even think about. I go home with the shoes with a lot of holes. And my wife says, what the hell of shoes are there? Come on, overheads are very low. He calls immediately the trattamento sanitario obbligatorio. I don't know if you can translate that. What percentage of my donation goes to the cause versus overhead? Why is so wrong, this question? First of all, for three reasons. First of all, because they give you an information, a wrong information about it, and they'll give you the information that they are not part of the cause. That the overhead are not part of the cause. So the telephonist, the people who is working at the desk in Save the Children, the director, the fundraising, you are not part of the cause. Just the people that is in the project. And if the people is in the project and is in Africa, has to be black. Because if he is white, he's not anymore part of the project. He's a Spanish that is an Italian that is going to Africa, is making money. This is ridiculous. But we accept that. We do not fight against this terrible moralism, terrible Puritanism. Second point, they force charities to forego what they need to solve the problems. If you want to create a strong organization, you need a strong people inside. You need people, maybe you need a new director that has some international experiences. Maybe you need somebody that is even more expensive. So with him, with her, you can do much more. But if you are buying the new director, your overheads will go up. So you have to explain to the donors that your overhead will be 15%, 20%, 30%. Oh, come on, it's terrible. I'll tell you, Indiana University did a research on on the non-profit organizations that have 5 million or more revenue, Indiana University. 1/3 of the non-profit organization declare 0% on overhead. I'm laughing in their face. This is pathetic. This is false. But we are forced to do that. The Bill Gates Foundation has a rule that cannot finance anything in more than 50% of overhead. And if you are 20%, they help you to change your balance, to change your budget. Put this one on the project. Maybe this one is not in the project. Put this one on the overhead that is lower. This is the way in which we have to work. We have to be false. This is not good. Advertising campaign. Think about a campaign on legacy. You can kill the people that gave you the legacy in order to make in 12 months the fundraising, but if you do not do that, you have to wait until they die. Normally, when you are making the legacy, Richard Ratcliffe, maybe you know him, he's a great speaker, a great man. He did a research that he demonstrated that people who give the legacy to the nonprofit organization live longer 8 years. This is a research that he did. And I believe that. Because people became much more active. And if you change the legacy at the end of the 7 year, you live 8 years more, so you have the perpetual life. This is a great idea to change every 2 years the legacy. Another overhead that is terrible, the staff training. Staff training is the first thing that you cut when you need to go lower the overhead. And this is terrible because the training of the staff is what you need to increase your fundraising. The third problem about the overhead, about the question what percentage of my cost goes directly to the cause and what percentage goes to the overhead, is that give bad information to the donors, misinformation, bad information to the donors. And you are forced to give wrong information because they need that. I'll give you some example. Let's say that we did a research. In Philanthropy Center Studi, the center where I work, my university has a center of research, Philanthropy Center Studi, in University of Bologna, the campus of Forlì, that is doing research on the nonprofit world, specifically on fundraising. And I'll show you a piece of research. Think about, we ask people if you know that the soup kitchen has 10% of overhead, 90% of project, 30% and 70%, which cause you will donate. If you are a donor, I know that you are a fundraiser, but if you are a donor, which one you choose immediately? Soup kitchen A. And in fact, this is the answer of the 76% of the people. But then you go inside the soup kitchen B and the soup kitchen A. Of course, it's a joke, but it's real. It can happen. The point is not just the overhead. The point is the quality of the service, the results, the impact. Those are the problems that you have to show to the donors. But they don't want that. And we don't provide them this information. We just put the hero in our communication, a little slice, these are for the overhead, these are for the project. And the less you put the slice of pizza, the more money you do. And of course, there is a starvation cycle. Because the less you reduce the overhead, the less you have to pay the salary, the less you have to spend on structure, the less you can create in a time horizon larger, and the less you are doing. This is the research by Philanthropy. The first question is, what percentage goes to the program? 70%. Just 6% of the people ask, does it make a difference? You cannot define the cause with that questions. Think about the Charity Navigator, one of the most important watchdogs. The word watchdogs is clear for everybody. The agency that is controlling the nonprofit. Charity Navigator declared in the website that the salary of the executive director and the overheads are not anymore considered as an indicator for the quality of service. Last year, he decided to put this on the website. For the first time, decided to do that. This is very important that we consider that. Also because we have more problems. Which problems? That in Soup Kitchen A, 20% of the cost goes to fundraising. And 10% is spent on that administration. Soup Kitchen A consider fundraising part of the project. So declare 10%. Instead, Soup Kitchen B has the same different cost, 10% and 20%, but is doing a much more reliable accountability. And is declaring 30% and 70%. So at the end, donors is giving more money, are giving more money to Soup Kitchen A, even if they are providing a worst quality service, and they are doing an aggressive accountability instead of real accountability. So we are giving an incentive to lie in this way. So this is the three reasons why we have to stop to say overheads, overheads, overheads. We have to stop to educate the donors in this way. They are not part of the cause. They force charities to forgo what they need to solve the problems. New director, new advertising campaign, staff training. And they give bad information, wrong information to the donors. Why we are doing that? I don't know. This is a question that I'm doing to you. That's why I need your answer. In Italy, this is the Italian situation. Those are the watchdogs. Do you have any watchdogs in Spain? Give me one idea. This is ASIF, Asociación Italiana de Fundraising. This is the Asociación Española de Fundraising. Then we have Istituto Italiano della Donazione. Do you have something like that? No? Do you have any umbrella organization that are we have the Agenzia delle Onlus. Agenzia delle Onlus is a governative organization that is controlling the nonprofit world and put in his guideline that you cannot spend more than 30% on overhead on the cost of fundraising. This is ridiculous, because if you have a new cause, a new organization, a small organization, many times you are making 90% of the cost in fundraising on 100 that you are collecting. So you cannot put this limitation. The Istituto Italiano of Donazione, the Forum del Terzo Settore, those are watchdogs. Those are people who are saying to you, please lie. And we accept, and we say, okay, I lie. For the good of your sake, for the good of the sake of the donors, for everything, I will lie. This is not good. And also we have news magazine. This is the most important financial magazine in Europe. It's done in Italy. Not in Europe, not because it's the most influential. It's the most important because they are doing more than 400,000 copies every day. Sole 24 ore. Every week, they are doing, on Monday morning, the esame di bilancio of AMREF, of Teleton, of Centro Aiuti Italia in France, and they are just giving one information. How much money goes to the project, how much money goes to the administration cost, how much money to fundraising. This is a good organization. If you're going down, you are worse. If you're going up, you are even better. That's the only information that they give you to give the 5-star. They educate the donors to ask just this question. But this is ridiculous. This is a dialogue of one of my colleagues, one of the most important professors at the university in Bologna. I will not tell you one of the most important university in Italy. I'm not telling you who is big. Many people would like to donate, but there are many bogus organizations, right? Absolutely. It seems that every year during the holidays, there are a new crop of crooks. Can you give us a list of questions for nonprofit organization? Yes. I'll give you, this is one of the most expert professors in nonprofit world in Italy. Yes, for example, you have to ask what percentage of the amount donated will be used for the final goal rather than being absorbed by the administration and overheads. So the organization should tell you what percentage of donations will be used for the cause and what will be devoured by administration and overheads. You are the people that are absorbing and devour money. You are a devouring people. Can you imagine? How can you be free to ask a little upgrade of your salary? If any time that you're speaking about our job, your job, is that you are devouring and absorbing money. What happened here? Think about the watchdog in Italy. They are judging 489,000 organizations. I don't know how many organizations, non-profit organizations are in Spain, but in Italy the last number is 489,000 organizations. There are more than 2 million people that are working in the nonprofit world in Italy. More or less the same number of the bank and insurance company in Italy. The nonprofit world is more or less the same, occupied more or less the same number of people as the bank and insurance occupation. And how many people are judging the nonprofit world? 17. 17 people are judging 2 million people. Let's say for the budget. The budget of the Agenzia per le Ossa is 1 million. 300,000 the Istituto, more or less 20,000 for the ASIF. And we have no idea how is the budget. They're asking transparency to everybody, but they are not putting the budget in the website. This is great. It's like I say to my to my children, please don't say bad words, cazzo. Like that. This is ridiculous. The number of nonprofit organizations that they judge, 40 the Agenzia, 57, 0 MP, just fundraiser, more or less 200 OMP. So they are judging, they are evaluating 400 nonprofit organizations, 1 on a million, and they are thinking that they are right. Program evaluation, no, 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 no. Nobody of them are doing program evaluation, but they are telling to everybody that the problem is that they need to get down on the overhead. So my point is that at this point we have to discuss on what we can do together in Italy, in Spain, whatever it is, to change this situation. And it's up to you. If you want to accept this situation, that's okay for me. But I don't think it's right. Think about it. I'll give you 3 ideas and then another one. Stop using the word overhead. In your communication, stop doing probably the less useful, the most useless piece of paper in non-profit organization, the annual report, the bilancio sociale. Totally useless, I think, in fundraising, because they just ask that. So if you want to follow the overhead path, just say we have 0% of overhead, and the research demonstrates that you will get more money, at least in the short period. It's the common tragedy, the tragedy of the commons, it's called in economy. If you don't give enough information, they will believe you. So I suggest you stop using the word overhead. Everybody, stop using the word overhead. Begin to think about the impact. Begin to speak about the results, the goals. Second thing, stop asking this question. If the donors make you the question like that, do not answer to this question directly. Explain to him, to her. That is not the point of the information. And third, I think it could be one of the tasks of the association or the government or the watchdogs, it depends on you, build a magnificent assessment apparatus. We do not have anything like that. Think about Charity Navigator. Think about GuideStar.org. Think about Give.org. They are beginning a kind of result impact analysis. We do not have anything like that in Europe, not even in Italy, not in Spain. At least I think I never see something like that. What you can do, what we can do together, up to you. But I think we have to create the Agencia para la Defensa de los Ignorantes en materia de recaudación de fondos. Lega per la difesa del non-profit, in Italian. Because we have to, I was in television a couple of weeks ago in the national broadcast. I was guest on the, I didn't give you the movie. I didn't bring you with me the movie of this television program, in which I was like that here to discuss about non-profit world and fundraising world, and we had 3, 4, 5 people over there, because you are asking too much money, because you are not transparent, because you are making a lot of money, because I was attacked by them, and nobody say anything. And of course, they are picking the worst organization, because of course there is somebody that is making money, that they are stealing money, as an example for the sector. And we have to fight against that. We have to fight. We have to create an anti-defamation league. The pork can you say, the allevatori di maiali, the pork, Chris, help me. Those who are, anyway, that's okay. There are a lot of profit companies that are getting together to help each other to become an anti-defamation league. For example, in Italy, there is a sucre organization that are providing to use more sucre. This is, everybody has his own organization, but the only one that has not anti-defamation league is the non-profit world. We have to force, as I understood a little bit about the president, we have to work on the legislative force in order to help the organization, and we have to create public awareness. I'll give you some example. We are thinking in Italy to do a strong campaign, and we need a lot of money to do that, a strong campaign to upgrade the public awareness. Io sono un costo generale. She's a fundraising. My number, read with me, my number is Lucia Rossi, trabajo para combater el cáncer de mama y en el presupuesto de la Asociación sin ánimo de lucro, en la que trabajo resulta que soy un gasto general. Think about a t-shirt, sono un costo generale. Instead of going like that, sono un costo generale. Everybody, all over the Spain, sono un costo generale. Dirijo el Departamento de Captación de Fondos y mi objetivo es encontrar nuevos donantes para financiar el trabajo de nuestros investigadores. Mi salario, sin embargo, lleva la etiqueta de gasto general, como si mi trabajo no fuera dedicado a la causa. Sin mi esfuerzo y el dinero que recolgo, esta no puede existir. Me dedico a la causa così come los médicos que realizan trabajo de investigación, trabajo en su nombre, siempre. Me parece muy injusto condenar a priori los costos generales. Think about it. But of course we have to get together. We cannot do by ourselves. This is not existing, Lega per la Difesa del Non-Profit. It's just an in. We are thinking about that. But next year, use this kind of t-shirt, the new one. I'm finished with the words of Adrian Surgeon, one of the best professors and a friend that is teaching at the Indiana University. I agree with every word of your presentation. We have become apologists for our sector, and no one seems to be fighting our corner. It's good to see someone else having a rant about the state of the sector. I think we have to begin again to dream and think that we can solve the problem that we saw at the beginning: breast cancer, poverty, malnutrition, AIDS, global death, and all the problems that you are trying to solve. Not in 50 years, not in 100 years, but if we take our freedom to fundraise, take our freedom to non-profit, maybe we can solve the problem in 5, 10 years, not so long. That's it. Thank you.